what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey!
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power! Fight the power!
We people who are darker than blue, are we gonna stand around this town and let what others say come true? We're just good for nothing, they all figure.
We are back with the Black Pack here on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm your host, Adrianne Shropshire, and I want to just maybe put a fine point on or emphasize or double down or something on that last conversation that we just had about the mail that the Republican Party is sending out in Georgia to, again, solidly Democratic Black voters. I believe the former mayor of Atlanta received some of that mail as well. So again, it's largely disinformation and distortion, and I know that there are folks who have a lot to say about that. So we're actually going to take a call and hear a little bit from Anoa in Georgia about what is happening. Hey, Anoa, thanks for calling in.
Hey, Adrian, happy early Labor Day. Thanks for having me.
So what are you seeing?
These mailers were, it was kind of shocking to come home. I had just been traveling, not at the DNC like some of you good folks, but I've gotten them, and I'm a solidly not Republican voter. My younger cousin and my brother have gotten them. According to my daughter, her friends have gotten. I mean, it's all over, not just the metro area.
And these are mostly younger, so this is your younger brother, and these are mostly
my younger brothers, so folks under 40 and younger, like Gen Z new voters too, right? I also heard from a friend in Augusta, Georgia, which is southeast, that her 22-year-old is getting these as well, and they run the gamut. There are some that are like, I think your caller before, Kimberly Carter, was saying about how they're from the Georgia GOP. I know there are some like swing districts that are state legislative districts that are also sending them to Black voters. My sister has a young daughter, so she's getting targeted with pro-family ads from state-level candidates, too. And, like, she's definitely not their demographic,
right.
But it just seems like they're trying to confuse people or at least hopefully get people to not show up.
Yeah. Well, that's a really important point, and I would hope that folks, call in, let us know if you're hearing about these kinds of things, but also, don't fall for the okie-doke about what this is. Like, this is an effort to depress the Black vote in the state of Georgia, and again, kind of combined with the actual attempts in terms of voter suppression, and then the sort of undermining of the election in general by just refusing to certify the vote or delaying certifying the vote and sort of breeding, causing people to not believe, right, in the integrity of the vote. So thanks, Anoa. I appreciate you calling in and letting us know what you all are experiencing down there as well. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Adrian.
Of course. So many of you are probably, headed home right now and maybe getting settled in for a nice long weekend. Labor Day is, of course, the last big summer celebration that we have before the fall kicks in. But it's also an opportunity for us to reflect and to celebrate Black workers, and in particular, Black union members who have fought so hard for us to enjoy not only this day off, but many, many, many of the days that we get off as people who have jobs, including the weekend. But Black labor organizing and union leadership really continues to lead in this day and has often been important in terms of providing resources for voter education and making sure that their members understand what's happening in the stakes of elections and doing the outreach and making sure that they're mobilized to vote. And so I'm really, really pleased to be joined now by Mr. James Kirby, who is the national chair of the Teamsters National Black Caucus. The Teamsters National Black Caucus made some headlines a few weeks ago. In fact, we talked about it here on this show when they endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris just after the union's national president took the stage at the RNC. So, Mr. Kirby, I want to thank you so much for joining us ahead of this Labor Day weekend.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I don't know if folks still question or not why there's a need for something like a black caucus inside of a union in 2024, but you are certainly proving why your leadership and the leadership of the Black Caucus is important. Did you realize what the impact of your endorsement of the vice president, what the impact would have?
I knew that it would have a major impact within our union internally, but I did not expect the national coverage that we received. I'm still getting calls from colleagues and former colleagues that I have worked with in the past that it took courage to stand up, to make the enforcement, to lead the way within the Teamster organization. I'm currently a rank and file member of the Teamster organization.
Okay.
I was a international organizer for over 18 years until March of 2022.
Okay.
We had to change administration. I went back to the shop, but I continued to lead the Teamsters National Black Caucus.
Yeah, I know it made a big impact on me, and I want to talk a little bit about how you all plan to sort of leverage what you all have done. I am the proud daughter of a retired Teamster, so I'm excited to continue this conversation with you when we come back on the other side. I hope that everyone will stay with us for this important conversation.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580. Tabitha Smiley's new book, The Covenant with Black America, 20 years later, is now on sale everywhere. This classic text shot to #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list almost 2 decades ago. If you have the original book, you will surely want to get this 20th anniversary edition with powerful new contributions from today's leading voices. This 20th anniversary edition presents a compelling blend of historical insights and contemporary urgency in this critical and unprecedented election year. Get your copy of The Covenant with Black America 20 years later today.
So the thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it's uncomfortable to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. And only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for up to 8 hours for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price, however, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer, excludes 8-count packs.
Posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Bianna's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertari Plessy. Nefertiti felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the Black Pack, and we are so happy to be joined by Mr. James Curbeam, the chair of the Teamsters National Black Caucus. The caucus made some news recently when they endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris, even though the Teamsters union as a whole has not endorsed yet. Is that still accurate? Are the Teamsters planning to make an endorsement, Mr. Curbeam?
I cannot say, I can't speak for the national, but it's been most of the locals that has endorsed Harris Walsh's campaign since the Teamsters National Black Caucus has. Teamsters Local 186 out of California, Teamsters Local 572 out of California, Teamsters Local 623 out of Philadelphia, Teamsters Joint Council 28, which covers Washington, Alaska, Oregon, Washington, the state of Washington, in Alaska, Pacific Northwest. I may be missing the state with Joint Council 28, but those have endorsed. Teamsters Local 769 out of Miami, Florida, made a strong statement encouraging our national to make an endorsement. I have to say the Teamsters National Black Caucus was not asked to stand down or to make an endorsement. We've done that on our own. We continue to support and respect our international and their due diligence that they're doing to make a decision.
Right. Yes, of course. Every international union has their process, and they need to work through it. So one of the things that your endorsement statement highlighted was the vice president's pro-worker track record and her role in securing pensions for over 1 million union members and retirees. Can you talk a little bit about how the vice president's economic proposals will impact members of the Teamsters at large, but certainly black workers in general?
You mentioned the pensions. She cast a tie-breaking vote on the floor that secured many of our retirees' pensions from not suffering pay cuts. I can say this for me, being an employee at Yellow Freight, and Yellow Freight filed a bankruptcy last year. Many of my coworkers went on to retire. If the rescue bill was not passed, they couldn't have retired. They would not have they couldn't afford to retire with the cuts that would have been implemented in those plans. It's been multiple plans that been in the red that has been brung up to the green and stabilized for the next generations to come. It's been worker organizing that has been championed by Vice President Harris. The infrastructure, the bills have been passed to supplement the infrastructure passage and the good union jobs that was created with the infrastructure bills that's been passed has helped us as union members. And you got to think about most black workers in this country that have a union job we're at the top of the heap in our community.
Yeah, so one of the things that the vice president has been saying, right, as a part of her, her one of her core slogans on the campaign trail is "We're not going back." Right. And I imagine that based on some of the things that you just said, that must resonate with your members. What are you hearing from the rank and file folks of the Black Caucus about how that phrase, what that phrase means to them?
It means something to me, too. We can't go back to 45. 45, we suffered in organized labor. We suffered at the National Labor Relations Board. We suffered with people as Jeff Sessions, implemented cut of actual memos that hindered us in organizing the cannabis industry. Not only the Teamsters Union, but UFCW and other unions that attempted to organize in the cannabis industry. Jeff Sessions hindered us, and that was one of 45 appointees. We cannot go back to the days of the LRB actually siding with the company and not paying attention to what the working people of America is really suffering and being when the thumb is being put on them by corporate America. And we cannot allow, just like Yellow Freight, I said Yellow Freight went bankrupt. They abandoned the working people with 22,000 Teamster jobs. They abandoned us for no reason after receiving over $700,000 from the federal government.
Right. I think that sometimes people think about unions as just being about, working on behalf of their members or just negotiating benefits. But unions are clearly more than that. And in some ways, a good union will also be kind of a political home for their members. Can you talk to us a little bit about the importance of unions for Black workers and why having a Black caucus within a large organization like the Teamsters is necessary in terms of helping to both educate and mobilize Black workers, certainly around elections, but also around other critical policy issues?
As a Black member of the Teamsters Union, I do not look at the Teamsters Union as being an insurance policy. It's an organization that I believe in and I love. It's just like my gym membership. I got to be an active member within my union. But we as Black members, and I say we as Black members, everyone always don't feel like they're welcome into our union.
Right.
And I have to say, me personally, the Teamsters Union has been great to me. It's been near and dear to my heart. But it has been some people in the Teamsters Union that has not been good to me. So the Teamsters National Black Caucus is a vessel that Black members could come to be educated and to be engaged and encouraged to be involved. The Teamsters National Black Caucus was first created in 1971 in Miami, Florida, where the Black delegates wasn't allowed to sit with their white counterparts at our international convention.
Wow.
And they were duly elected, but they wasn't allowed to sit on that convention floor to cast their ballots as they was sent there to do by their membership. Not only the Black members that sent them there, but the white members that sent them there, and the other members of different nationalities at that time in 1971. And it may not have been a whole lot of different ethnicities in 1971, but that was a delegation that was sent there. In 1971, it was a list of demands that was given. In 1975, it was the first educational conference at the Teamsters National Black Caucus that was that was held in Chicago, Illinois. And I have to say, those original demands of the Teamsters National Black Caucus still hasn't been met to this day. And we're still struggling to meet those goals. Now, do we got to evaluate and refocus our goals? Yes. But we still got to remember our founding fathers' vision and their goals and what they wanted. And we hadn't met those goals yet to this day.
Right. I want to talk a little bit about the fact that there are 67 days to the election, or 67 days to election day, I should say. Yes. And so what is the Black Caucus planning in terms of making sure that members are prepared, that they have what they need, and that they are mobilizing not just themselves to the polls, but mobilizing other members and mobilizing their families? What are you all doing to make sure that people are positioned to have the impact that we all know you can have?
What first thing we're doing, we're encouraging all our Teamsters National Black Caucus members and also Teamster members of our rank and file and of goodwill to encourage them to scan the barcode that's on the back of the last Teamster magazine to cast your vote, to let our international union know who you want to see our international union to endorse. That's first and foremost.
Wait, say that one more time. Say it again so people who were paying attention but not quite paying attention hear it. The first thing is scan the barcode.
Scan the barcode on the back of that Teamster magazine that came to your home. You got the opportunity to tell our international executive board who you would like them to endorse in the first straw poll vote that was taken in your local union. It was overwhelmingly selected that the Teamster members wanted to see the Biden-Harris team endorsed.
And
but since then,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But since then, we have another poll that's out, and it's coming through our international magazine. It's a barcode. Scan it. You will have to put in your name, your last four of your social, if I'm not mistaken, and your date of birth to verify who you are. And you can cast your vote who you would like to see the international endorse. It is a scheduled roundtable. I don't know the exact date of that yet, with Vice President Harris and our international executive board and our actual workers throughout our union that has been selected by our international union.
Okay, and that booklet goes to retirees too?
If I think it's been some retirees there, but I'm not for sure. I have not been involved in that process.
Okay, so that's the first thing that you're encouraging members of the caucus to do. And then what next?
We are, as chapters and rank and file members, it was a town hall meeting held the 2 nights ago by Teamsters Local 502 in Philadelphia, led by Dr. Robin Cooper, the vice chairperson of the Teamsters National Black Caucus, of registering voters and encouraging voter turnout. We will continue that through the Teamsters National Black Caucus, through our chapters, through our communities, and throughout the cities where we have Teamsters National Black Caucus members at, getting involved and registering people to vote and making sure we turn voters out to the polls.
Okay. So the first thing is, if you're a Teamster and you're listening, or you know someone who's a Teamster, let them know that they should take the booklet, the pamphlet that they got, that on the back that there's a barcode that they can scan, and they can tell the executive board who they want them to endorse, and make their voices heard on that front as the international moves toward making a decision about their endorsement. The second is to make sure that you're helping to get folks registered to vote if you're a member of the Black Caucus of the Teamsters. And then the last thing is to make sure that you are helping to mobilize folks to the polls, whether they are Teamsters or not. Did I get that right?
Yes, ma'am. And it's just not Teamsters National Black Caucus members. We encourage all Teamster members to make sure they voice their opinion about who we should be endorsing. If you went to your local union, you showed up, and you took part in the straw poll vote, you need to be scanning that QR code and casting your ballot again, regardless of who you support. I hope you're supporting the Harris-Walsh team.
So the last thing I will ask you, we often say, the weekend brought to you by labor, right? By labor unions. But we also know that Labor Day is a day for us to reflect and to support the incredible work that labor unions have done throughout our history in this country, and making sure that workers are safe, that they have decent wages, and that they have a place to organize, and that organizing is a right that people have. You have a right to organize a union in your workplace. As we approach Labor Day, what is the one thing that you would say to folks about why this day is important, and what folks should do to make sure that the rights that we have as workers and as unions, continue to that we continue to hold those?
I would say you need to know your worth. Be able to stand strong in your beliefs. Do not be afraid to be proud to be a union member. And you hear me say a union member, not just a Teamster member. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a true trade unionist. We need to make sure we're proud of being a union member, and we got to make sure we know our worth, and that we do not ever concede to corporate greed.
Right.
That we must stand up to the bullies of America, because most of the bullies that we have is in management personnel. They think they can run roughshod over you and put their thumb on you and actually intimidate the average worker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
they don't think there's a voice in place.
That's right. And that is a whole word, and also speaks directly to our current political situation as well. So, Mr. Kerben, I want to thank you so much for joining us on the show, but also for your leadership in this moment, both of the Black Caucus of the Teamsters, but also just in the way that you're helping all of us to think about how we approach this next election. So thank you so much for joining us. When we come forward, we will continue this conversation on Black workers and on labor and on the vice president's economic agenda. We're going to be joined by Jen Stowe, who's a senior advisor at CARE in Action. And stay with us. We have lots to talk about still.
More of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Vice President Kamala Harris, who is Black, finished her bus tour by calling for voters in Georgia to head to the polls. Harris spoke in Savannah on Thursday. Her and Tim Walz also campaigned on helping out families in need. ABC News is reportedly declining a request from Vice President Harris, who is Black, to have unmuted microphones at next month's debate against former President Trump. That's according to the New York Post. There will be no audience, no notes, and mics will be turned off when the opposing candidate is speaking. A new survey shows the use of cannabis among young adults is historically high. The University of Michigan has released its annual study called Monitoring the Future, which tracks substance use trends among adults in the U.S. The latest survey from 2023 shows that about 42% of young adults aged 19 to 30 reported using cannabis. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
As we focus on the 10 eastbound, now first near Santa Monica, 10 eastbound before Bundy Drive, that of course is Santa Monica Freeway. Still have an accident in the left-hand lane. You're still backed up to Cloverfield, and don't be surprised when you get past the accident scene that the 10 eastbound remains slow to the East LA interchange. Traveling farther east on the 10 into the San Gabriel Valley, right at Walnut Grove Avenue. It's a crash in the left-hand lane. And up ahead, 10 eastbound before Vincent Avenue, you have a disabled vehicle in the middle lane.
At Lowe's, save big every day when you buy in bulk. Save 10% when you buy one pallet or more of select shingles, because Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location, while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Dodgers are the first Major League team to reach 80 wins. They beat Baltimore last night to build some momentum for their crucial 4-game series at Arizona. Game 1 is tonight in Phoenix. The Dodgers lead Arizona by 4 games in the NL West. The Angels snapped their 7-game losing streak with a shutout win at Detroit. It was the Angels' 6th shutout of the season and their first since July 6th in Chicago against the Cubs. The Angels are back home tonight to start a 3-game series against Seattle. 4 HBCU football teams played Division I opponents last night, and the results were not pretty. Howard, Jackson State, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and North Carolina A&T lost by an average margin of 38.7 points. Arkansas Pine Bluff lost by 70 to Arkansas. Jackson State was the only team of the 4 to give their opponent a game. They lost to Louisiana Monroe by 16. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, yo, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Climate justice, climate equity, climate resilience. By any other name, we demand environmental justice in 2024 and beyond. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we don't black down.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Hey LA. Today I'm here to talk to you about Grid Alternatives, which is a nonprofit in LA that focuses on renewable energy. We serve communities who have been left out of the renewable energy sector. We offer paid job training, and in 13 weeks, you can become a solar installer. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry, and once you're hired in the industry, you stop at a high, medium income. That could be $20 an hour or more. 80% of our graduates get hired into the industry. Call today so you don't be left out at 323-861-0105 or gridalternatives.org, gridalternatives.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're inside the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to the Black Pack. It is Labor Day weekend, and I am so thankful to the folks who joined us on this Friday night. This is obviously a time to reflect, not just barbecue and get the cookout going, but really to think about workers, Black workers, and unions, and how they have contributed to all of our lives. So we have now Jen Stowe, who's the executive director of National Domestic Workers Association and a senior advisor at Care in Action. Jen, thank you so much for joining me on this evening when you could be doing almost anything else.
Oh, no, this is what I'd rather be doing. Thank you for having me, Adrianne.
Of course. So talk to us about Black domestic workers. And I think Black women in general have played a crucial role in labor organizing in this country, but often don't get any recognition. How important is it when we think about organized labor and having organized spaces for Black women in this sector in particular, the domestic worker or care worker sector, and just really the history of it? Like how I think we sort of know, and I don't want to hear. I know you will talk about it. You will tell us the history of it, but how crucial has it been to have these spaces for Black women to be able to organize together?
Absolutely. It's been so critical and so important for us to organize as Black women, especially in this sector. So when we say domestic workers, a lot of times I just want to level set because folks are like, who does that entail? So we think of domestic workers as the women who are working in private homes. So those are your nannies, your house cleaners, your home care workers, your child care workers who are working in private homes. And we know that when you're working in a private home, that comes with a certain power dynamic, right? And so there are often no protections for these workers. And so what we do at the National Domestic Workers Alliance is fight for recognition and respect for these workers. The workforce has a history, Adrianne, of exclusion and racism because of the history of the work and who has historically done the work. We know Black women, enslaved Black women, were doing this work for free, and that has really impacted how care work is seen, how it has been devalued over the history of our country. And so we're working to reverse a lot of those exclusions and fighting every day to make sure that Black women, the women of color who do this work, can really work with dignity and respect.
So when we talk about the advancements in terms of making sure that that people who are working in this sector are able to have jobs with dignity and jobs with fair wages and all of the things that we know that it takes for people to thrive and to take care of their families. We also know that Vice President Harris has been a big champion of making sure that we have the policies in place, not just to protect the people who are doing these jobs, but to make sure that they're getting what they deserve in terms of their work. Talk to us about the Care Can't Wait agenda and how you see that a Harris administration carrying that forward.
I think that Vice President Harris has the ability to really be one of our biggest champions that we've seen carrying the agenda. When we talk about the Care Can't Wait agenda, what we mean is an agenda that prioritizes the investment in policies such as paid family and sick leave, affordable and quality child care, and also aging and disability care, wrapped up with really good jobs for the women who are doing and providing this care. I talked about the history of home care work, of house cleaning, and of nannying, and it being really marked by racism and exclusion. And it's marked by exclusion because, in the 1930s, domestic workers were one of the only group of workers that were really excluded from labor protections in the New Deal in the 30s. And so,
Jen, say that one more time. Let's say that one more time for the people who aren't listening.
Yeah, so there was a huge package of labor policies that were passed in the New Deal in the 1930s. And there were two groups of workers that were excluded from those labor protections, like overtime protection, like access to Social Security. And those two groups of workers were farm workers and domestic workers. And it was very intentional.
Right, because
The
who were the farm
Southern
workers?
lobbied for that.
who were the farm workers and the
that's
domestic
right.
workers? Right.
That's right. They were black folks. Okay. Okay. They were black folks. And so it was purely racism. And so those group of workers are still excluded from protection. And so that is a lot of what we're fighting for. But we know that, you know, the protections that they were excluded from in the 1930s, we need to go beyond that. And so we're fighting for even more. And so we're fighting for good jobs for care workers, but we're also fighting to fix the entire care infrastructure. And Vice President Harris has been such a champion, even when she was senator, in really fighting for the protection for those workers. We know that Vice President Harris she knows about caregiving. She watched her mother really leave the care of her and her sister to a child care worker. She talks a lot about that in her story. She also cared for her mother while her mother was sick and in her final days and when she was sick with cancer. So we know that she has a personal care story, and we know that she also knows that there's an affordability crisis right now happening, right? And so she understands that what Black folks want and need and what Black voters are looking for is relief, and relief from child care costs and home care costs are a part of that.
Right. And the other thing that when we think about the policies that you talked about that are critical, right, to people being able to do their job, something, you know, like paid sick leave, right? Like that's critical to people being able to be secure, right, in their work. We know that a lot of those policies were included in the Build Back Better effort that happened and didn't make it through. Right, didn't make it through, and were excluded. Right, the question I think that is important when we're looking ahead to a potential Harris administration is something that the Biden Harris administration has been saying as a part of before the ticket changed. This idea of finishing the job, right? This idea of finishing what they started, because they know that there were some things that they didn't get done, and I know that that Vice President Harris understands this as well, right? Understands the need to finish what they started, in particular around this effort. What are some of the things that, and I know you named them, but if you could just talk a little bit more about those policies, it'll be so important for them to finish the job on.
Absolutely. And so we know that we need a caregiving infrastructure that works for the folks in this country. So the policies are really grounded in where we are as a country now. The country is experiencing an age wave, right? So every 8 seconds, someone is turning 65 years old. And so that means that we're living longer. We're adding a generation onto our lifespan. And what that means is that we're going to need folks to care for us. And the fact of the matter is, Adrianne, that you can go to Amazon, you can go to a fast food restaurant, and you can make a higher wage than you can doing home care, doing child care. And so there isn't a lot of incentive for folks to come to these jobs and stay in these jobs. So we want an investment in the structural system that holds these policies up so that we can actually raise the wages for these workers. We also know that America, the United States as a country, deeply needs paid leave infrastructure. There are about 53 million people who are doing some sort of unpaid family caregiving. And oftentimes they don't have the time off that they need to care for their loved ones. And so we understand that we need a paid leave infrastructure in this country. We also know that we have a child care affordability crisis happening. And, what I often hear from our members is that they are, they're nannies to a family, and they're struggling with their own child care needs, And so this is something that impacts people. So many Black folks are in the sandwich generation. That means they have little kids, and they are trying to often take care of their their auntie. They're trying to take care of their Nana, their aging loved one too. And so we just know that these policies impact so many folks in this country. Mm-hmm. And so it really is about the investment of money and dollars. Right. And so we know that the previous Biden-Harris, their candidacy was about finishing the job. Yeah. But we really believe that VP Harris is going to take these policies forward too. We know that she is running on a very strong agenda and her own agenda. Mm-hmm. And we believe that agenda includes care because she knows, the impact that it'll have on folks' lives, real people.
Yep. Okay, more with Jen Stowe, the Executive Director of the National Domestic Workers Association and Senior Advisor of Care in Action. When we come forward, this is the Black Pack.
You're part of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want? Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery on select smart beds when you add any base. Ends Labor Day. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
As fall approaches, you have a lot to prepare for. Back to school, sporting events, family gatherings, and staying on top of your health. The virus that causes COVID-19 continues to evolve. So this fall, no matter what you're prepping for, you can prioritize your family's health and make a game plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit LAFLA.org. LAFLA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
Let's get back to more of the Black Pack with Adrianne Shropshire right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
We are back in conversation with Jen Stowe, the Senior Advisor of Care in Action and Executive Director of the National Domestic Workers Alliance. I was sitting here like, when did NDWA change their name to association? But in fact, you didn't change your name. I changed it for you right here on the air. Just calling y'all all out your name. National Domestic Workers
is important.
Alliance.
That's the important part, Adrianne. I'm not worried.
Oh, man. So there's lots and lots of excitement, right, about the Vice President Harris being elevated to the top of the ticket, Coach Walz coming on and joining the ticket. There's lots of excitement. And I asked our last guest, James Kerben from the Teamsters, about, how a particular phrase was impacting or resonating with his members within the Black Caucus of the Teamsters, and then that was the phrase "we're not going back." And then earlier in the show, I asked Atima Omara about this idea of, or the sort of phrase, or the switch, actually, the sort of shift that the vice president has made from talking about democracy to talking about freedom. And so I actually want to ask you that same question. We're going to take a listen right quick to Vice President Harris talking about the various freedoms that we should be fighting for.
So back to this election and Donald Trump. So in addition to the fight on the fundamental freedom to make decisions about one's own body, I have been traveling our country, and the people of Georgia know what I know. There is a full-on assault on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights, including the freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, and an attack on the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And we will fight against all of that, including the freedom to live free from the pollution that fuels the climate crisis.
So one of the things that, when the sort of back and forth debate about messaging and, talking about democracy, and one of the things that, I have been saying that, is very true for us, certainly, is that Black people understand democracy to be a amalgam of freedoms, right? Freedoms that we fought for and won over generations, over centuries. And that sometimes it's important to name those freedoms, right? It's important to name those things that together make up our understanding of what democracy is. And so I wonder, for your members, what that slogan is, that sort of, what is the impact of talking about both freedoms but also not going back, particularly in light of the history that you talked about. How is that resonating with your members?
Oh, they're fired up. And the vice president is a narrative pro, right? Like she has folks so excited, and my members are no different. I love what you said, Adrian, because I think that for Black folks, for of course we equate the semblance of democracy with freedom, and it's all about our rights and our civil liberties. It's clear that, the right, the opposition, they want to take us back. They're trying to unwind like 50 years of progress. And I think the vice president is so clear about that. And she's so clear about grounding her message in what can be taken from us, which I think just strikes a new chord. And my members are mostly women. My members are Black women, women of color. These are women who are immigrant women, and these are some of the most empathetic and most marginalized workers in this country. And so I think they are particularly fired up by the message of freedom. Everything that Vice President Harris, future president.
I know you're jumping ahead. I've been jumping ahead too. That's okay.
Look,
we speak it into existence.
Exactly. We're manifesting. But everything Vice President Harris is talking about is resonating so deeply with them. And quite frankly, I think she's the leader that we need in this moment. And I think that grounding everything that she's saying in freedom is also just the consolidating her base. I think that like young Black voters, older Black voters, right? Like new Black voters, non-voters, like it resonates with everyone. And it really defines her in being a fighter. You know, she's ready to fight for our families, our freedom, our future. So I love what she said at her rally, and I hope that she keeps carrying that message forward.
Yeah. So we are, as I have been saying this entire show, 67 days from Election Day. Ballots will start going out in some states starting next week, even in North Carolina, for example. So what are you all thinking about doing with your members? How are you preparing them? How are you getting them what they need? What's the game plan for the workers of Care in Action in NDWA?
Yeah, we are mobilizing, you know, like we will be engaged in having conversations and doing direct voter contact with voters up and down the Sun Belt. We know that voters, you know, in the South and the Southwest are really impacted by the lack of child care infrastructure, right? And so we want to make sure that they're speaking to them. So we'll be across Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada. And we make sure that we deploy domestic workers and care workers to be in conversation with these working class women of color, the low wage women workers, because we know there's nothing quite like getting a knock at your door from someone who uniquely, deeply understands what you're going through, right? Understands what it's like to not be able to afford your prescriptions every month, understands what it's like to be trying to, be stuck in the sandwich generation and making tough choices about caring for your kids and your parents too. And so we will be sending domestic workers from all over the country to these critical states in order to close the gap. And we'll be talking about all sorts of issues. We know that domestic workers live at the intersection of so much. So we're going to be talking about reproductive freedom. We're going to be talking about care. We're going to be talking about democracy. We're going to be talking about the economy, and we're going to make sure that people are educated, mobilized, and can vote for the candidates that really rep them.
So if there's a someone who's a domestic worker listening to the show right now, and they wanted to get in touch with the National Domestic Workers Alliance, how would they do that?
They need to go to our website. We're building a movement of domestic workers, but, we know that the lack of care impacts so many folks beyond workers. And so we're building a movement of the descendants of domestic workers. So many Black women, so many Black folks, your grandmother, your great grandmother, you come from a lineage of people who did this work. We want to really encourage folks to stand in that legacy, and continue the fight.
And bring them in.
We're building a movement of, absolutely, we want to bring them in. It's not just about folks who are doing the work right now. It's about folks who have benefited and who understand that work. And
what's
so
the website?
We want to encourage you, to get involved and go to careinaction.us.
Oh, great. That's simple.
Careinaction.us.
Careinaction.us. Okay, so thank you so much, Jen, for joining me. I really appreciate you. We'll be tracking with you as we go throughout the next 67 days. And I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend. I hope you have something planned that's fun and maybe a little relaxing. So thank you all
Adrian.
for joining me at the Black Pack. We will be back next Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Have a great Labor Day weekend. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. CPS CEO Pedro Martinez is getting support after recent reports that Chicago, Illinois Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is Black, was seeking his ouster. 36th Ward Alderman Gilbert Villegas, along with more than 440 CPS principals and assistant principals, signed a letter backing the local leader. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is coming off a primetime national interview that included several personal questions. The Democratic vice presidential candidate joined Vice President Kamala Harris, who's Black, on CNN. Walz was questioned on whether